Hello there, it's Carrie Rhodes here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and another card making video. Today we're going to talk about boosting your mojo, giving you a little burst of inspiration when you need it through the help of a challenge. That's what I did for today's card. This card was inspired by the Heffy Doodle monthly challenge for November 2021. This is the Cranberry Blush Inspiration Board from Heffy Doodle. Like inspiration boards like this because they inspire me to try different colors that I might not have thought of, and when I play along with the challenge I get to connect with other people doing the same thing. So that's why I love a challenge, and I decided I would pull out some of my favorite Heffy Doodle stamps and dies to create my card. So that's where the inspiration came from today. I'm using the Dear to Me, Nuts About You, Mole Lotta Love stamp sets, and I love interactive cards, so I'm bringing in the mini double slider die set for a little pop-up surprise, and I'll be using this Slimline scenery die set as well. So I'm going to start with that blush color from the inspiration board, and I decided that the Tattered Rose Distress Oxide would be a good fit for that. Remember, it's just an inspiration board, it's a jumping off place, and so let the inspiration just take you where it leads you. Once I had a little border of that around the top and the sides, I spritzed it with water, and I'll pick up the excess water with a paper towel after a minute. I like to let it set for a minute and really get those water droplets that stand out and are more white. Then I'm going to splatter on some more of that same colored ink over the top of this for a really dimensional look. And it's pretty subtle for me, but I really like how it turned out. I'm going to let that dry and work on the bottom of the card. This piece is about 2.5 inches. I wanted it to be about 2 inches when all said and die cut because I need to hide my double slider mechanism. So I'm going to do some candied apple for my kind of cranberry color today, and that's going to go along the bottom and the sides as well, just fading off to white as I go. And it doesn't have to be perfect because it's also going to be splattered. And so first comes the water. I like to let it set while I grab my paper towel and then pick up that excess water, and I just love that look so much. It really adds an element of depth to your cardstock that you can't really get another way. It's just kind of magical. All right, so now let's add those splatters with the same color ink, and that will finish that piece up, and we'll set it aside to dry. Here are all the images that I'll be stamping out for my card today on some Heffy Doodle Copic friendly paper or alcohol friendly paper, and I did stamp some of the images multiple times just so I would have enough to fill in my scene. I'm coloring this deer in starting with my darkest color, and then I'm bringing out my mid-tone to soften out that line of the shadow, and now I will start coloring more of the area as I soften out that line with my mid-tone color. And then I'm adding some E55 as my, I thought was going to be my lightest color, but I actually will bring in one more color for this deer. I wanted a nice highlight right there on the deer's back, so I thought I would go for a fourth color, which I rarely do, but I just felt that was the way to go for this guy. So there he is, all colored, but I did want to add a little bit of E21 to the white areas on this deer, and I really like how that turned out. All right, for the little squirrels, I'm doing E39 as my darkest color, laying in that shadow first, and then I'll bring in my mid-tone color, which is E15, and you can see I'm just softening out that harsh line of the shadow color, and then extending the colored area farther out each time I add a new color. So now I have E13 that I'm adding in for my lightest color on this squirrel. I think these are really fun colors for squirrels. I like them when they're just maybe a touch reddish. I like that, but it seems the squirrels around here are more tan colored. Okay, let's move on to the mole. Now, this mole stamp set is one that you could get free with purchase from Heffy Doodle. It will eventually be available for purchase in the shop, but check that out. You might still be able to get it as a free gift with purchase at the Heffy Doodle shop, which I will have linked for you below, as well as all the products that I use. Now, Heffy Doodle is based in Scotland, so I'll have options for shopping if you are international. You can click on the Heffy Doodle store, as well as if you are in North America. They carry their products in the Simon Says Stamp shop and scrapbook.com, I believe. So I will have some links for all that for you guys. All right, so the mole is done with some warm gray markers. I thought he turned out super cute with the little pink accents. I didn't worry about coloring his feet because they're not going to show in this card. Now I'm adding some warm grays in W4 and W2 to these birch trees. I love birch trees. They're so cute for like whether they're die cut or stamped on a card. I really, really like them. So I was excited to put them on today's card. And I'm trying to coordinate the colors of the markers that I'm using with the colors of ink that I used in my card, so everything is kind of matchy-matchy. I like that. So I'm using some R markers for my leaves. R17 is the color that is the most used on these leaves, and I softened it out with R2, R02, and I love how that looked. I also use that on the mushrooms and on the bird. Now onto the tree trunk, I used some, I think it was I don't remember my darkest color. I had it on the screen there. And I'll show all the markers at the end, but I wanted the bottom of the trunk to be a little bit darker, and then the top of the trunk to be a little bit lighter, just like it would be if it was freshly cut. So I think that tree trunk is super duper cute. It comes in that Dear to Me stamp set. Now it's time to color out the acorns. Oh, it was E47 is my darkest color. I'm using similar colors on my acorns as I did on the tree trunk. And I love that they have the different kinds of nuts in this same set. Acorns and some nuts without the top. Are they filberts? I'm not sure. I don't really know, but they're cute. All right, now it's time to die cut out all the things. I am using my mini die cut machine from Heffy Doodle. I love how tiny it is and how sturdy it is and how well it cuts. Now here are all the die cut pieces ready to go. So cute. Now it's time to build the mini slider mechanism. So I'm just laying the slider piece where I think it's going to go so I know where to cut the little opening. I did that, and then here are all the pieces you need to make the double slider die cut out. Plus we're going to need a little piece of a poop bag, about 1 inch by 3 inches approximately, and then we'll just wrap that around this piece that kind of looks like a capital I. And what we're going to do is adhere the ends together with double stick tape, but not wrapping it too tight. If we wrap it too tight, it's not going to slide around, and this piece is crucial to making this interactive element work. If it doesn't slide around, your piece isn't going to pop up and down. So don't put it on too tight. Then I'm going to add the other mechanisms that are like the arms that will move that bag. So you just put a strip of double stick tape at the top, and you can see that will move it. Now you can add the second one to the other side, or you can add your stamped image. Now right here, how I'm showing you is how I should have done mine. I should have put the mole on the back, but you'll see I do it the opposite. But it would work a little bit better had I put the mole on the back. But nonetheless, these steps are going to really help you with your double slider. It's a really easy mechanism to do for interactive cards. So I stuck him with temporary adhesive to the bag so I could kind of play with it and get it situated where I wanted. And you can see when he's at the bottom of the bag, it moves so much better. So then I just need to play with my placement and make sure that it's going to pop up how I want. I'm using some foam tape on the little arms of this mechanism, and that's going to be what attaches it to my card. So I'm going to need foam tape on both sides. That's going to make it the most easy to use. So I'm adding that here, and before I put the foam tape on the back, I want to just play with this and see where it's going to go, how it's going to look when it pops up. But my hill just seemed to be in the way no matter how I repositioned my little guy here. So in the end, I decided it would be best to cut a little bit off of my hill. So I brought back the die and I repositioned it so I would have the hill going down in that one area. I tried just to cut that side, but then it looked weird. So I just ended up cutting the whole thing, and that works so much better. I can see my little mole popping up much better now. All right, so now I needed to cut a tiny bit off of this mechanism because it was showing, because I had to cut more off of this than I wanted to, but I felt like I would still be okay because I have the foam tape on both sides. I guess the risk would be that the bag could maybe slide off, but with that foam tape I think I was okay. I risked it and it worked fine. So now I put some permanent adhesive on the back of my mole before sticking this down. So I'm just going to take the backing off of the foam tape that's on the top. And like I said, the mole should really be on the opposite side, the back of the slider, and the pull tab should be on the front, because with the pull tab on the back, it kind of hangs down and is harder to grab than if it was up against this panel, this like hilly panel. All right, so now I have the arrow piece that I die cut from white that I'm attaching to the red piece that's left over from cutting that opening out of my card front panel. And that's going to give me a red arrow. So I'm going to stick that on so the recipient knows to grab it and pull. And then it's time to build our scene. So I stuck the trees down to my original background, and then I doubled up my foam tape on the back of my hill, because remember, I have foam tape on the top of my double slider and the back. So any other foam adhesive I put on had to be doubled up. Now I'm stamping my sentiment with my critters just laid out where I thought I would want them to go, and it says, "Well, hello, dear." Then it's time to adhere all those cute critters down, also doubled up with foam tape so they're the same depth as my card front. I added those leaves across the top and they look so good, but I needed something else along the bottom. So I brought out this Tremendous Peekaboo die set, and I'm going to die cut a bunch of those leaves, but I wanted some like cool paper to do that. So I am doing some ink smushing with that same candy apple red ink, and then I'm just going to play with this. So I'm heat setting it. I'm spritzing it with water. I'll pick up the water droplets with my paper towel so I get those lighter areas and darker areas, and then I can just repeat this and layer it up. So I'm going to pick up some of that ink right off of my glass mat there, and then just keep doing that, spritzing it with water, drying it, picking up water droplets with my paper towel, and it looks really cool. And now I will add some splatter. I like the splatter because it adds those darker flecks of color. So I am taking the same candy apple red ink, and after I did that, I brought in some fired brick and Distress Oxide spray. I gave it a little mist, and then I also flicked it with the ink right off the end of that spray nozzle. That's going to dry back a lot lighter, but still be those darker droplets that I love. All right, so I die cut every single leaf from this die set twice, which gave me a ton of leaves, and then I laid them out where I wanted across the bottom of my card. And once they were all laid out, then I went back with my jewel picker and my glue, and I was able to glue those in place. I love the subtleness of the leaves there, and it really makes it feel like that's what's covering the entire ground, even if it's just a little bit across the bottom. So there is my card with my pop-up mole. He has found a nut to add to the winter stash, and the squirrels they don't want to hurt his feelings by telling him they already buried that nut. Yeah, he's so helpful, that mole. All right, so I just glued this down to my card base, which, by the way, is 8.5 inches by 8 inches, scored at 4 inches. So I had plenty of room to do a scene across the top and the bottom of the card with my mini double slider, and this card will still fit in a business-sized envelope. So there's my card inspired by the Heffy Doodle inspiration board, their challenge. And if you want to play along with this challenge, you have till the first week of December to play along. You can add your card to their Facebook page, and they do have a giveaway, which is another good reason to join a challenge. Not only does it inspire you and you can connect with other people doing the same thing, but you might be inspired by new product that you could win from Heffy Doodle. So I thank you so much for stopping by, spending some time with me, because I just love sharing my stamped creations with you. And I will see you all again very soon on the next video. Happy stamping! Bye!